These are the 25 best free Quest 3 games that you need to play, starting off with Frenzies. This is an arena first-person shooter with a very unique neon-soaked style to it. And besides its bunch of cool game modes, it also rocks some insanely cool ones that you can try out for free in early access. And number 2, we have No Clip VR. This is heavily inspired by the massive success of these so-called backrooms, where it will force the players to explore its mazes, as well as solve puzzles and escape from whatever lurks within. And while the gameplay might be a bit bare bones, it is still a great free title to play with some friends. Number 3. Hyperdash. This is a fast-paced multiplayer shooter that lets you dash, sprint, and real grind around the arena, all at the same time while trying to avoid incoming fire. And with the great feature of it being crossplay, meaning you can both take Quest as well as Steam VR users. And number 4, we have Population 1. This is one of the best free VR games that you can get, making this a classic battle royale shooter that also lets you do some crazy things like flying across the map. And best of all, while this used to be a paid game in the past, it is now completely free to play. So if you haven't already, make sure to check this one out. Just keep in mind that the experience can be quite intense, making it not so suitable for new users. So instead, a more chill experience could be number 5, which is Cards and Tankards. This game drops you in a medieval tavern where you will be battling it out in a traditional card game. But it is the cozy environment, as well as trying to collect all the different cards that are available, that make it so addictive. And honestly, who doesn't love some medieval fantasy vibes? And on number 6, we have VR Chat. This is probably one of the biggest games in virtual reality, because in here you can create your own characters as well as places while visiting the many creations of other people. Basically, in short, if you can imagine something, then you will most likely be able to find it in VR Chat. And if not, then you can just create it yourself, making this a must play for nearly any VR user. And number 7, we have Blast On. This is another great game that actually used to be a paid title, but is now finally free to play. And in it, you will be dodging some bullets in its head-to-head 1v1 dueling matches, which your main goal is trying to make sure your bullets touch the enemy before they get through to you, which will require you to pull off some real Matrix dodging moves. But if you would rather hit up a casino, then we have number 8, known as Vegas Infinite. Here you can go all out in all types of gambling games, but luckily it is completely free to play, so you won't be having any risk of losing real cash as well. And on number 9, we have Bait. This is probably one of the most relaxing VR games out there, and also directly one of the oldest games on this list. But with its bunch of new updates, you can now also hang out with friends while cracking open a cold one and reel in some big fish. They even added in some chill social areas where you can sit back and take part in some casual minigames. And on number 10, we have Rec Room. With just like the previously mentioned VR Chat, this game has a bunch of different worlds for you to explore, with its biggest focus on some popular laser tag games. But there are so many that could also be considered entire games in their own right. Although, do be warned, a lot of the younger audience can be found here. And the same can be said for the ever so popular number 11, known as Gorilla Tag. Since if you have a VR headset, or even just slightly interested into virtual reality, then you have definitely heard about this game before. Because while the graphics are nothing too crazy, it is the simple gameplay of swinging your arms around the treetops while you embody a gorilla that makes this game so simple yet addictive. And the same can be said for number 12, which is Yeep's Hide and Seek, since this clearly draws some inspiration from its gorilla counterpart, but also mixes in a big crafting system while they're at it, meaning you will have to use your imagination and creativity if you want to become the best in this game. And on number 13, we have Liminal. Now the best way to describe this game is to probably just experience it for yourself, because in here you can dive into over 100 experiences that each have their very own unique twist or goals to it. This can be from a relaxing or unwinding moment to some intense exploring and action, making it definitely one of the most unique games that are out there. And on number 14, we have Gods of Gravity. This is an old school arcade style game where you will be competing in an epic showdown of up to 8 players between celestial beings, meaning you can scoop up some ships and throw them to capture a nearby planet, or open an entire wormhole to teleport them across solar systems, with the ultimate winner being the last god standing. And on number 15, we have Big Screen. While this might not be directly a game itself, it does make it possible for you to play some PC titles as well as console games directly on your headset. And not only that, because it can also let you create an entire home home theater inside VR, where you can watch things like shows and movies, or even mirror your own computer screen right in front of you, which really makes it one of the must-have apps from the start. And at number 16, we have Gravity Sketch. This is a free drawing application that lets you design models as well as import images or output some crazy 3D objects, which honestly always surprises me that something like this can be completely free. And at number 17, we have Roblox VR. Well, this probably doesn't need an introduction. Roblox is one of the most popular games out there that finally found its way into our VR headsets. And while there were a lot of bugs at launch, thanks to a couple of updates, the experience is much more smooth, letting you finally explore all the places that you so desire. And at number 18, we have Mission ISS. You can already go get your astronaut suit, because in here you will be taking a trip into orbit. But besides it being a simple experience, it also learns you about the life on board of the International Space Station, where you won't just be floating into microgravity. You will also learn on how to dock a space capsule by none other than real NASA astronauts, making this also a great educational game at the same time. And number 19, we have Gun Raiders. This is for those who want some more multiplayer shooting action, while also being capable of using a jetpack to get to your targets. And while it does have some microtransactions within it, these are only available for avatar skin stuff. So luckily, there's no pay to win here. And number 20 is Horizon Worlds, with this being Meta's own official version of a social VR platform, with them now actually having some compelling first-party games, which also made a lot of users excited for what they might be able to pull off in the future. And since it is free, it doesn't hurt to just try it out. And at number 21, we have Gym Class Basketball. This is the perfect solution if you're looking to shoot some hoops or dunk on the court like you probably wouldn't be able on a physical court. But besides just practice, you can also take it online to go head-to-head in a pretty convincing game of basketball, and that is thanks to the game's use of physics-based and full-body kinematics, making it feel like the closest you can get to the real-life thing. And on number 22, we have Elixir, where in here, you will be an apprentice of a wizard, where you will be receiving some quite literal hand-on experience. Since while you're working in this unstable alchemy lab, your hands might transform into tentacles, to full-on Wolverine claws, and much more. And even though it might not be the most action-packed game out there, it is still a great showcase of what the tracking is capable of on your headset. And number 23, we have Gravity League. This game basically feels like a futuristic version of the old school game called Pong and the concept of Tron together, since you will be punching a ball in zero gravity, trying to score it behind your opponent. And with loads of funny customization options, I think it can be a very enjoyable game to just jump in for some quick matches. And at number 24, we have Ultimax, which probably looks familiar if you have played the game Rocket League before. But instead of driving around cars, you are now given rocket power fists to punch the balls into the goal, while also adding in some online multiplayer that includes 1v1 or 2v2 matches. Which gets us to number 25, and that is Hybo, with this one taking a quite unique spin on the battle royale shooters, because you will be using a bow and arrow throughout it. And that also goes for your movement, so instead of just walking and jumping around, you can shoot an arrow in a certain direction and fly towards that while targeting your enemies on the ground. But that's not all, because besides all these free games, there are also some other must-play VR games that you need to try. So click on the video that you see on screen right now to make sure you don't miss out. And of course, stay awesome.